I'm Cher, and today I am going to teach you how to make a beaded bracelet. When you're done with this, you will have enough skills to make all kinds of beaded jewelry. So your material will be in the link below. What you're going to need is some sort of a beading mat. This is basically like those fleece blankets you get from like the hospital. You don't need this. You can use a paper towel, a placemat, any kind of rectangle of fabric is going to work. You're going to need some tape, and you're going to tape your mat down. Trust me on this, because I have all too often just and all the beads that are on here go everywhere. So I like to just tape down the corners just to be safe. So then what we're gonna do is gather the rest of our tools. So our beads, so these are our seed beads. These are 11-0 seed beads. The 11-0 is the size. You can see compared to my thumb, they're very tiny. And then these are the super duos. You can see in here, you've got 2 holes in each of these. That is what they're meant by super duo. They're bigger than normal, and they've got 2 holes in them. So those are the beads we need. You can use any colors you want. In addition to these, you're going to need your beading needles, size 10. You don't have to buy this brand. I've used tons of different brands, but basically these are incredibly thin, bendy. Oh, my cat's smelling the phone, so he might be over here soon. They're very, very thin. They're very bendy, which helps you. And they have a very, very tiny hole. That is my cat scratching in his cardboard box, in case anybody is wondering. So you will need 2 of these needles for this project. It will make your life a lot easier than just using one. And then you're going to need Fireline. This is, it used to be a fishing product, but beaders have taken over it. It's, it doesn't cut super easily, and it stays really secure, so it's a nice thread to use. It's a very, very thin. I've got 6-pound in the color Smoke. Generally, the darker the color, the more it'll disappear into your bracelet. So I don't really recommend clear or white unless you're working with only clear or only white beads. Okay. Then we're also going to need a clasp and a jump ring. Oops. You can see that I've got mine hooked together. If you don't already have yours hooked together, they probably came like this. Go ahead and hook them together, because it will save you a lot of pain when you accidentally lose the jump ring and have to look for it. So just hook that jump ring onto the clasp. And then lastly, you're going to need either super, super sharp scissors like this. You can also use pliers that have like the wire cutter at the bottom. That works really well. Or if you shelled out for the thread Zap It 2, this tool is what beaders really, really use. It's really nice. You push this button here, and this coil at the end will heat up, and it will just totally zap the thread in half where it stands. So I'm just gonna demo that right now. It gets really hot at the end. Sometimes it'll turn red, sometimes it doesn't, but it gets really, really hot. So if you're doing this with kids, supervision is recommended. So I'm going to go ahead and just touch that wire, and there we go. It's in half. We've got, and you can see the end just clear cut. So it's really nice. It's a really nice tool if you want to spend the $10 to $20 on it. If not, scissors are fine. Okay, so to get started, what we're going to do, put everything off. We're going to start with, we got our beads here, or I'm sorry, we've got our needles here, and our clasp here, and we've got our fire wire. What you're going to do is you're going to wrap the fire wire around your wrist, whatever wrist you want to wear this on, 4 times. Not particularly tight or loose, just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then so you can see it's kind of loose, it's kind of not, you know, but it's gone around 4 times. So I'm gonna hold my finger where that went around 4 times, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut. A way to make your cuts easier is to keep the thread taut and then kind of run the scissors into it. So you can see the scissors work fine. You don't have to purchase the thread zap. It is a nice tool, but not necessary. So then we'll go ahead and wrap up our extra, set that aside. Now we're going to take our thread, grab the 2 ends, if we can find them. Okay. Put the 2 ends together here. You can see those together. And then pull in half. So you actually are going to crease the very bottom of it. You see we've got a crease here. We're actually going to bead our bracelet like this with 2 threads. So it's very important that you have the same length at the ends. So then what we're going to do, we're going to take that clasp with the jump ring attached, but we're going to ignore the jump ring for now. And the little hole that's on the end of the clasp, we're going to put that through one of our thread ends. Doesn't matter which one. You're just going to put that through, and then it'll go to the end where you have that crease. That is where it's going to stay. That's all you need to do with that for now. Again, leaving the jump ring on here. It'll stay there until we're done stringing our beads. Then we'll deal with the jump ring. This just keeps us from losing it. So now on to the, what I like to call, hard part. It's not, I promise. You've got your 2 needles. What you're going to do is you're going to thread each needle on one end. The best way I found to do this is if you have a little bit of a nail, just run it on the end of this and kind of flatten that end, because it's hard to see, but this is a much longer thread hole than it is wide. Oops. And then you're just going to thread as best you can. If that doesn't work, which mine is not, you can also run it through your teeth, kind of clamping down. Oh, that worked. As you pull through, you're just trying to flatten the end of the wire. You're just going to pull it through a few inches and then grab the other end and do the same thing. And there we go. Now, it's really important that the 2 ends, that you drop the 2 ends. It's really important that you drop things a lot. No. It's important that, again, the 2 ends are at the same point, like that, and the needles should be the same distance down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of pull / fold those ends. So you've got, you can kind of pull it so that they're the same. There you go. Then, so you've got your 2 needles. You got your 2 needles on your thread and your clasp at the end. Now what you're going to do, you're going to take your seed beads and you're going to pour out maybe a dozen or so, not that many. A lot of them will want to come out at the same time, but keep in mind, the more you pour out, the more you could possibly lose if they go haywire. So I usually just operate with, maybe this is probably 2 dozen actually, but just a few at a time. And as you run out, add more. Okay, so then what we're going to do first is take 1 needle, doesn't matter which one, and you're going to pick up a bead. You're going to pull that bead down. You can see it's right here. Then you're going to take the other needle and go up through that bead as well, if you can see it, which of course I totally can. Okay, so you're gonna have that. So basically both of these needles have gone through this bead, and then you're just gonna push the bead all the way down to the bottom. This bead is gonna serve as a lock to keep your clasp down here, and it also makes it look nicer when we get finished. You'll get to see what that means. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set one of the needles aside. Doesn't matter which one, but you're just gonna set that aside, and we're gonna concentrate on this other needle for now. And you're gonna go ahead and pick up one more seed bead, run it all the way down. So you've got one bead that is on both strings, and then one bead that is on one string. Now it's time for the super duos. I try to kind of keep my super duos and my seed beads separate, but if they get mixed up, it's okay. It's pretty easy to tell the difference. If you're using the same color, if they're both silver or if they're both pink, try to keep them separated. It'll just make your life easier down the line. So now what you're gonna do with the super duos is you're just gonna pick up one just through one hole and run it down to the clasp. Then you're gonna pick up a seed bead again. Try to pick up a seed bead again, okay? And you're gonna continue alternating super duo, seed bead, until it's the length to go around your wrist one time. It's gonna be about 45 to 55 beads, give or take, somewhere in there, depending on the size of your wrist. So another thing to keep in mind as you do this, test both sides of the super duo beads, because sometimes one of the holes might be closed and you won't realize that until you've beaded all of these, and then you have to go back and remove. So we're gonna just continue super duo, seed bead, super duo, seed bead. So I'm holding this at the end, and I'm gonna just wrap this around, and you can see if I pull this tight, it's actually quite long. So I'm gonna actually remove 1, 2, 3, 4 of the super duos, and you can see right here, I'm gonna leave this last silver one on, and then just simply push these beads off. Okay, so now that we've gotten one side done, we're gonna go back and do the other side. Take the needle you were just working with and actually run it through your cloth. That way, if you pick this up, you won't lose the beads off of that, because we're gonna be working with the other needle now. So you're not going to need your super duos, so you can take those and put them away. And you may have noticed earlier I set one to the side. This one of the holes wasn't quite open. It's hard to see here, but let's see if I can flip it over. You can kind of see on that hole, whoops, on the hole on the left, that wasn't open. So it's a good thing I was testing all the holes, because that would have been very difficult to deal with coming back through these other ones. So what we're going to do now is basically repeat everything we did here, except instead of picking up super duos, we're just going to go through the super duo hole. So starting here, we've got the bead that both of them went through. So then we're going to pick up a seed bead, run that all the way through. Then I'm going to go through the other hole on that first super duo, go all the way through. The key here is to be pretty gentle to start with. Once you've gone through a few, I'm picking up a seed bead here. Once you've gone through a few, you can be a little less gentle, but at first you're going to want to be pretty gentle. So seed bead, super duo, seed bead, we're going to go through the other hole that doesn't have anything through it yet and pull that through. And it looks kind of silly, but then once you gently pull that taut, you can see how there's the bead that they both went through, 2 seed beads, a super duo, 2 seed beads, a super duo. You're going to repeat that pattern for the whole thing. So we're going to continue picking up a seed bead and then going through the super duo. You can kind of see why, because you can pick this up and mess with it. That's why this one is tamped down. Now that we've gotten several down here, it's holding its own, it's staying there, even though these have gone all the way up there. So I'm just going to move those back down a bit and then continue. Just pay attention that you're going through the right super duo, that you're not going over here when you need to be over here. And then we'll just keep going the entire length of the second side. Okay, so now we've got all our beads on here, and I've ended, you can see, with a seed bead on either string. Now what we're going to do is, carefully holding the string just in front of where it ends, we're just going to size the bracelet one more time. Oop, here we go. Just pull it around. Yep, that's going to fit perfectly. So now what we're going to do is, on one of the needles, again, doesn't matter which one, pick up one seed bead. You can see that. Run it down, and then you're going to have the other needle go through the same seed bead. So we're repeating what we did at the beginning, and we end up with this one seed bead that will lock this all together. So now, before we go any farther, we're going to put away our extra beads because they will go everywhere. My cat's right here off camera. You can't see, but oh wait. Hi, Banksy. Oh, yeah, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unclasp the jump ring from the end there. Just lay that down. And then what we're going to do is, holding the threads, you're just going to kind of just move it around a bit so that the beads are fairly taut. You don't want them so taut that when they lie down, they kind of like go like this. You want it so that when it lays down, it just goes in a very straight, smooth line. Sorry, Banks. Okay, again, Banks really likes this. You can see, oh my gosh, yeah. It's helpful not to do this when the cats are around. You can see how there is a seed bead on either side, and then the super. So once you've gotten your cat out of the way, here, play with that. You take your needles, you still got your 2 needles on the end, and you're going to take your jump ring and put it through one of the needles. It does not matter which one. And just run that down so it's right here. And then what you're going to do is, and again, we're still with the needles because we don't want to have to redo them. We're going to just tie a knot. So one needle over the other like that, just like you would tie like a normal knot, but then we're going to take one of the needles and go around again. I forget what this is called, but it's way more secure than just a single knot. So you've actually gone around twice here, and then you're going to very gently tighten that. Okay, so again, this isn't like super tight. I'm gonna pull it a bit just to tighten that up a bit. Then I'm gonna one more time. So right now this one, you can kind of see you've got this here. This thread is kind of on this side and the other thread is kind of on that side. You're just going to run one of them through and then do that again where you have one loop and then 2. And then again, pulling that taut. Okay, now the last step before we can cut anything off is we're going to run this thread back down. So I'm going to just pick wherever this is closest to. This thread is over here, so I am going to simply run it through that top one, that top bead that both sides are going through. And then I'm going to go down one side. I'm going to just run the needle through seed beads and superduos on the one side. And I'm going to basically, I mean, you can go as far as you really feel you want to go. 5 or 6 sets is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see I did 5 superduos. And I'm going to pull that down. Now I'm going to pull the needle off on that side, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So you can see this one, I went down this side, so I'm going to go down this side now. I'm going to simply go through. Whoops, we're gonna try. It's gonna happen. This is why it's good to have this flexible needle. You're gonna go down that center one and then the left side, and you can see I'm just kind of moving it around in there, wiggling it, pushing it until I get, you can see the needle starts to come out there. That's enough. We can go down there. So then just pull that down, and again pull that needle out, stick it in your fabric. So then you're left with this. So you can either take your scissors and, as close as you dare, cut them off, or if you've got your thread zap, this is when I like to use this, because you can get it, let's get that centered there, super close. Oh, there we go. You cannot see where the other thread is at all. It's really nice. So again, I'll do the same thing. See if I can do this better so that you can see it. Again, always good to hold the threads somewhat taut, and we're gonna just, there we go. And you're done. That's it. So simple as that. You're done.